Okay, one thing I wanted to show you after you put in your spacer and that the cage bearing down in the bottom there on this where the two bearings go on this type of lay gear shaft. Put down your other snap ring for this the second bearing that's down here in the assembly. You want to be careful not to get it to where it snaps on that first ring. So all you got to do basically just slide it in this fashion to where it gets past that first ring, then start to flatten it out as it goes on down. And just use your screwdrivers. Being careful. Just snap it in. Oops. There you go. Just snap it in there. That's all there is to that. So basically just watch out on that first ring. Just put it in that fashion to get it past that first ridge for that first snap ring. Okay, now I'd like to show you, once you get your two bottom needle rolling cages, needle bearing roller cages in the bottom here, we're just going to put on the distance piece tube. And that should be very simple. Here's a better way of pressing in and out the distance piece tube is just use a socket. Here's the old needle bearing race that fits right on there real nice, slips down through the yoke, and the socket's a little bit smaller diameter than this guy, so we'll just press it through this way. So again, oil is your friend. Oil this guy up. Sure we get a bunch of oil in here. Get things started. Here we go. No right away putting this thing on, just pinch it together and get it started. There she goes. That's it. Okay. Push it on as far as you can. There she goes down in there. Alright. Take your needle bearing race, your socket, push it. There she goes. Almost. Push it till it all the way seats. Come on, there we go. There. That's it. Okay, and that's it. That's all there is to putting in the distance piece tube. And just put the roller cage on here, snap ring, and you're done with the assembly. Again, just take your time, lots of oil on everything, and you should be good to go. Okay, once you've put on your needle bearings, all you're going to do is just put in the snap ring. I wasn't going to bore you with sliding on the needle bearing cages into the lay gear. Just slide them in and stuff after the spacer, and then all you got to do is just put in your snap ring. Just start it on one side and just work your way around. Almost do it with your fingers. There we go. Till she snaps in there. That's it. That's all there is to putting on into the needle bearing roller cages and the snap rings onto the lay gear shaft. Again, just take your time and you'll get it all assembled. Okay, next I would like to show you, as you can see, I've assembled the lay gear in here with the new thrust washers and stuff. And what we're going to show is just to check the lay gear infloat. Spec for this MGB Gearbox, 2 to 3 thousandths, and this is my 3 thousandths, paper thin. And what you'll want to do is just come in here, and it's better to do it with all the other stuff out, so good idea just to do it once you start reassembling everything, just to go ahead and do this at the very first check. And what you're going to do is just push the gears forward and then get that, and there she is, nice and snug. You can hear it's nice and snug, the difference in there. So that's your checking your lay gear in float. 2 to 3 thousandths, paper thin. Got to be very precise on that. And so just check that. Again, the thrust washers, they're kind of, they only come in one size nowadays, unfortunately. But so hopefully you'll luck out like I did, and with the new thrust washer, bring it up to spec and stuff. Okay, you can see we've finally got it out of the front cover assembly here on the old 65 MGB gearbox. Here's the seal. It's all boogered up, getting it out, but it'll come out. What you want to do with the new seal is take a socket that's just the right diameter. Here's my front cover, but it'll fit the seal. The socket will fit inside the lip of this seal here, and fit in there like that, and then you can just drive it home nice and gently back into the front cover. Is how they recommend to do it. Just put oil here on the front, clean this all up, put oil here, oil on the outside seal, install it in here, take your socket that's going to fit, and then just drive it home. Put it on your workbench and then just drive her home. There she went. Just drive it on home, and when you drive it home gently, just make sure nothing's torn on the front cover seal, and then make sure that it's seated all the way. You can see this one's seated all the way on the lip here. So that's how I just take your time and drive it in with the socket is what they recommend in the service manuals. And that's the trick to the front cover seals. Replacing these seals are not fun, but they have to be done because they've been sitting in there for a while and they get old and crack, and you can see this one's all brittle. That has lost its elasticity, I guess is the word. So there you go. Okay, now we're going to install the new bearing seal. And for this, you need a new bearing. I've got a nice size washer that I'm going to use to drive it home with. I'm just going to get some oil on this guy to help let this guy install easily. And oil. Take your new seal, put the washer on her. Try to line it up the best you can. There we go. Just tap it to get it started. There it goes. Just drive it all the way home. Check your work, nice and even. There she goes. Just keep banging on it till she goes all the way home. And when you're done, it's going to drive it all the way home nice and flush, new seal, and we're all installed. This is off the 63. That's what it's going to look like right there. So that's all there is. Removing and installing that rear seal. It's better to do it now while you've got the tail house removed like this from the assembly. So if you try to, if you can imagine that shaft coming through here, it would be a lot more difficult to get this seal out with that shaft in the way. So go ahead and do it now while you got that shaft, that third motion shaft out of the way. Okay, now we're going to drive in the new seal into the housing for the Speedo gear. How we're going to do it is with this, mine is a 10mm socket, 1/4 inch drive. And as you can see, I'm going to put it around the opposite way so that it's nice and flat here. And so it'll be driving onto the top of the seal that way. And it actually just barely fits nice and snug right in there. So here we're going to put a little bit of oil. Help get it lubricated. Put some oil on the seal. Alright. Trick is getting it started. Put it on there. And again, the seal goes on in this fashion right here into the housing so that the lip of the seal is facing down. So it's into the housing in this fashion. Alright. So we're going to try to get it started. And again, this is just plastic, so see, I can get it going with my thumb. Alright, get it going nice and even. There we go. Starting on there just right. Let's try pushing it down. Okay. Remember, this is plastic, so we don't want to get anything. See, it's going in a little cockeyed now. I got to get it going the right way. Okay, almost. Let me try straightening that up a little bit. Try tapping it. Almost. There we go. Goes. Almost got her straightened up. Just need to tap on this end over here. Try to straighten it. Let's see. Almost. She goes. Okay, almost there. Just take your time with it. Okay, I'm going to cut to the chase and get it to where it's almost flush with there, and then I'll come back with you guys to drive it the rest of the way. Okay, we got it about flush with the top here. We're just going to drive it the rest of the way home with our 10mm socket. Again, remember, this is plastic, so be careful with it. Let's try it without this guy. I'm just going to tap it. There she goes. So she's starting to go in there. Looks good. Going in a little crooked. Let's try to straighten that out. Okay, socket looks like it's going in straight now. Try to hit it. There she goes. Okay, socket's still straight. Driving it home. Getting good. Push it down now. Let's see. This might be all that she wrote. Let's try tapping it just a little bit more just to see. Okay, that's it all the way home. Let's try putting the speedo gear in there. Let's see how we did. Oh, that's a beautiful thing. There you go. Alright, so that's all there is to putting in the new seal there. Mine was leaking, so that one definitely needs to be replaced. And you should do it also. Alright. Okay, what I'm going to show you here is when we took the rear extension off of the from the transmission, what'll happen is either the bearing, this whole bearing will come off of the third motion shaft, or it'll slide out from this housing here. The bearing will slide up a little bit. On this case here, you can see that the bearing is still seated in the housing, the aluminum housing here. So what's happened on this one is when we were banging the rear housing off, the bearing had come all the way up. So we're going to reseat this bearing down all the way till it's flush with this right here. And we're going to do that, get it started. I got some oil in there. So we're going to get some more, a little bit more oil. Put that on there. So we're going to try to knock it down. So what I've got, they say to get a 3-inch pipe in the manual and stuff. So improvise. Here's a 2-inch pipe from Home Depot. It fits in the inner race, which is what we're going to be beating on, is the inner race of the bearing, not the outer race. If you needed to beat on the outer race, this little guy will come in handy. It's just the right diameter for the outer race of the bearing. And to make things safe, I've got a washer that I've found years back, and it actually fits just perfect for to beating on the inner race. So we'll show you what all I mean here. We're going to take this assembly. I'm going to set it down on this piece of wood here. I'm going to get my bearing, my washer here. I'm going to slide it on there just perfect. And we're going to beat that down with the pipe here. See that slides right on there. We're going to give that a whack and knock that bearing down to seat it. A little wood piece. Okay. So let's see how we do here. There, it slid on a little bit right there. And again, you want to make sure that you got wood so you're not going to damage any of the metal pieces. And we're just going to knock it down. Knock it all the way down until it hits bottom. There, it hits solid. So we'll take that off. Let's take a look at what we got. There we go. Okay, I'll bring it back over here in the light. And as you can see, the bearing has seated all the way back down where it should be. And that's basically it, just seating that bearing back in there. Again, if you were banging on this when we were taking the rear extension off and you notice that this bearing had come out of this metal, the aluminum housing here, then it's basically the same setup that we had there. Well, I'll show you real quick what we would do. You would want to support the aluminum housing here with, I use angle iron on both sides and some bricks to leave it up. So the angle iron is in this fashion. And then just take my setup, that little tube with this guy on there. It fits just perfectly on the outer race, just like that. And again, it's supported on aluminum housing here. Smack it on that pipe, and it seats the bearing right here down onto aluminum housing. So either case that you got, just check that bearing there, because when you're banging off that rear extension housing, this guy right here, the third motion shaft bearing, is going to come out a little bit. So that's how you seat that. Thank you. Okay, we're going to assemble the third motion shaft here. I'm going to show you what I meant by miking out the thrust washers, how they were in spec and all. This is what I used to mic them out. Here's the front thrust washer, this that goes up here. It should be set, it should be within tolerance of 0.1565 to 0.1575. So just use the dial indicator right there. Boom, right on 1.575, right on the money. So that's beautiful. And that's what I meant by all the thrust washers mic'd out good. With the third motion shaft, what we're going to be replacing are the synchronizer rings for all the second, third, and fourth. Also, I have a uprated second gear that I'm going to be putting in. The one that came in it was bad and stuff, so we're going to be replacing that. You can't purchase the second gears from any of the manufacturers anymore, Moss or anybody. So just look on eBay. That's where I found this one and purchased it. Or if you get lucky and find a whole transmission. So now we'll go through the assembly. Please remember that the oiling holes here are very important when we're lining up the bushings. We'll show you that in just a minute. The first thing that we're going to slide on is the first speed wheel and synchronizer assembly. Here's your first speed. This will only go on one way. Here's where the synchronizer will go in. So we'll just slide it on the third motion shaft in this fashion. She just slides right on. Next will be the rear thrust washer, 2050 oil. You can never oil too much. Oil is your friend. Alright. This is keyed. It'll go on just one way. So we'll slide that baby on there. There she goes. That's on there now. In that fashion. Alright. Now next will be the bushings for the second and third speed. These guys right here. Now remember the oiling holes that we were talking about. When we disassembled this guy, this is for the third speed, and here's the middle thrust washer. This will only go on in one way. It's keyed, and so you want to put it on there where you're going to line up the oiling holes, and so they'll be through here in this fashion like this, and then you can see that it's got a little detent here for the spring right here. So it's going to go, this bushing will go on this way. Oops. In this fashion here. And for the second speed, it's smooth in there. The third speed bushing has the grooves in it, the keys, so it'll line up on this right here on the shaft. So it's going to go on in this fashion here. Let's double check that, make sure that's right. Oiling holes line up. So this one will go on in this fashion here. So we'll put some oil on this guy, lube them all up. Alright, slide them on there and get it lined up with the oiling hole there. Next we'll put on the second speed gear, oil him up, nice and a lot of oil, inside and out, lube up the Synchro ring. Nice and lubed up. She goes. Nice. Just slide this guy on there. In this fashion. Boom. She's in there. That's all we got to do. So that's lined up. That's nice. Now we'll put on the middle thrust washer and the third speed. Again, lots of oil everywhere. And the oiling hole, we'll line that up. So that guy will come on here. Let me show you. There's the oiling hole here. Line it up here. There she goes. Alright. Now I gotta get the other one lined up. There she goes in there just like that. So that's it. You can see the oiling hole there, sort of lined up, but that's all you need is that way. It'll only go on one way. This guy will only go on one way, and we know that the oiling hole here is lined up because we checked that out earlier. All right. Next one that'll go on is your third speed gear. Lots of oil here. This guy. Alright, oil on the bushing. There we go. Brand new synchronizer ring. Go ahead and get that guy oiled up. Alright, put it on. Look at that. Beautiful. That's good. Let's keep that synchronizer ring out for now. Alright, now here's a little bit of a trick here. We've got to put the pin back in. The pin will go into the hole here with the springs already still in there. So the pin will go in this fashion here. Now we got to put this guy on the gear, and the thrust washer. Put some oil on the front thrust washer.